Hey guys, John and Jamie from True Crimecast here. If you're anything like us, you've probably had those conversations where you're like, man, someone should be recording this.
Right? And now you can do that with Zen AI, the home of vibecasting. A vibecast is all about putting the conversation first and turning it into something worth sharing.
Whether you're reacting live to a game or TV show, Zen AI makes it incredibly easy to create your own broadcast.
And you don't need a fancy setup either. Your phone is your studio. Just hit record, start talking. You can get professional level sound right from your phone.
Then Zen AI's AI producer takes over from there. It handles the cleanup, helps with editing, and even creates share-ready clips. And the cool part is you can make changes simply by chatting with it in plain English.
Zen AI is currently an invite-only beta, so join the wait list today.
Head to zen.ai to sign up.
That's zen.ai. Start vibecasting this summer.
Summer's supposed to be the easy season. So why are so many people quietly Googling a therapist between summer Fridays? Because more daylight doesn't fix the hard stuff. Sometimes it just turns the volume up. Grow does therapy differently. Therapy is not only for when you're in crisis. Grow Therapy is here for all the moments when you decide you want more. More support, more clarity, more tools. Mental health isn't a destination you reach. It's something you build, and Grow makes that easier. Grow connects you with thousands of high-quality licensed therapists across the U.S., offering both virtual and in-person sessions, nights and weekends. You can search by what matters, like insurance, specialty, identity, or availability, and get started in as little as 2 days. There are no subscriptions, no long-term commitments. You just pay per session. Grow helps you find therapy on your time. The therapist you want takes your insurance on Grow. Grow accepts over 125 insurance plans. Sessions average $21 with insurance, and some pay as little as $0 depending on their plan. Visit growtherapy.com/booknow today to get started. That's growtherapy.com/booknow. growtherapy.com/booknow. Availability and coverage vary by state and insurance plan.
Hey, True Crimecast fans, Jamie and John here. For the next couple of weeks, we're going to give you a special presentation of our show, Paradigm.
Paradigm is an 8-episode series where we take a deep dive into one case. If you've been around for a while, you'll know that that is very different, as we normally will do an episode per case, but not this one.
We're currently working on season 2 of Paradigm, so we thought it'd be a great idea to bring season 1 back up. So on the True Crimecast feed over the next couple of weeks, you're going to get the entire first season of Paradigm. Now, that whole season is available over on the Paradigm feed. So you can go over there and subscribe and listen to it all now, or wait till it comes out here.
If you do go over there, we would encourage you to go ahead and hit subscribe so that when our new season comes out, you'll be immediately notified.
We're in the depth of that investigation, and it's going to be, we think, a really great story being told with hopefully some good outcomes. So make sure you subscribe over there. The guys will be back in a couple weeks for your regularly scheduled programming of True Crimecast.
Guys, we love you, and we'll see you next crime.
Stoveleg Media, igniting conversation.
Yeah, I wonder if the sentences would have been the same. I mean, that's part of what we're here for, right? Figure out if justice was served for the Lillelid family and what that means for everyone involved. And being here to see it's just really surreal.
Yeah, even still, I still have questions in my mind of, did the right thing happen? Did the justice system work right?
Yeah, and I don't know. Well, that's what we're going to dive into. Hopefully our listeners can help us figure that out. The famous author Aldous Huxley famously said, "There are things known and there are things unknown, and in between are the doors of perception." Every good story ever written tells just as much with what goes unsaid as it does with the dialogue. This is true for fiction and nonfiction alike. Especially when the media plays a role, we as a society are often told what we should be allowed to know and what we shouldn't. In the case of the Pikeville Six that were charged with murdering the Lillelid family, everything we were allowed to know came out of the mouth of District Attorney Berkeley Bell. Every message that was shared publicly about this case focused not only on the Lillelid family, but on those accused of murdering them. Bell and the media desperately pushed the narrative of hate, violence, and Satanism in order to sensationalize the murders and ensure a guilty verdict. In that effort, the story of the Lillelids was almost completely lost. While we will spend a lot of the time on this podcast speaking about the crime itself and those convicted of the Lillelids murder, we want to be clear about our intentions. We're not trying to tell you about an awful murder. We are trying to determine if justice was served or if the convictions and sentences need to be changed for the sake of justice. This is Paradigm.
For today, we are going to put all of our focus on the Lillelid family. Vidar, 34, and Delphina, 28, were a young couple living in Powell, Tennessee, a suburb of Knoxville with two small children, Tabitha, age 6, and Peter, age 2. They were Jehovah's Witnesses, and the story of their murders starts on their trip home from a Jehovah's Witnesses conference they attended in Johnson City, Tennessee. However, let's get to know the family a little bit more. Vidar was an immigrant from Norway. He moved from Bergen, Norway in 1985 to Miami, Florida. It was in Miami 4 years later in 1989 that he married a beautiful young woman named Delphina. Delphina was born in New Jersey to immigrant parents from Honduras. They met each other through their mutual involvement with the Jehovah's Witnesses church in Miami. Donna Amore, their friend from Miami, had this to say to James Stewart of the Devil Came Knocking podcast about how she met Vidar and Delphina and her first impressions.
But, I'm going to say we met Vidar first. He was out in the preaching work, and a gentleman and him knocked on our door and was talking to us about the Bible. And that's how we came to know Vidar. We met him first, and it wasn't long after he came from Norway. Okay. So that's how we met Vidar, and then we started regularly attending the Kingdom Hall, and he met Delphina. He became smitten with Delphina from a distance, and they started dating, and we would go out together. We'd go to the beach together, breakfast together. We had them in our home, and we became good friends. And that's how it started.
They married in 1989 and moved to Knoxville after their daughter Tabitha's birth in 1990. They moved in search of a peaceful place, a place to raise their children, a place without drugs and the violence of a big city. A hiking trip to the Great Smoky Mountains National Park convinced the couple that they had found the perfect place. They lived in East Tennessee for 2 years when their second child, Peter, was born in 1995. Knowing that they moved from Miami to Tennessee to escape crime and to find a peaceful place to raise their children makes this story even more heartbreaking.
The murder of the Lillelid family occurred on April 6th of 1997. Vidar and Delphina Lillelid had spent that Sunday at the annual Jehovah's Witness Assembly in Freedom Hall at Johnson City, where members of the faith from across East Tennessee had gathered for fellowship, Bible study, sermons, and prayer. The week ahead promised to be busy. Vidar had to be back at work for his job as a bellman at the Holiday Inn Cedar Bluff in West Knoxville on Monday, and Delphina had chores to do and to prepare homeschool lessons for the children. The family had moved 6 months prior into a rented 50-year-old home in the Powell community, the children's first taste of life outside of an apartment complex. Yes, the house needed work, and the parents had finally saved enough to buy a new swing set for Peter and Tabitha. Later, they hoped to renovate the upstairs into an apartment for Delphina's mother. And in just a month, Vidar and Delphina planned to fly to Norway for the first time with the children to visit Vidar's relatives. Donna had this to say about the personalities of Vidar and Delphina and about what they were like when they were together.
Well, Vidar was, I'll say, madly in love with Delphina. You didn't ever see Vidar really without his arm around her. And he was a hard worker. He was selfless. It was God, family, and friends. And that was Vidar's personality. Delfina, from what I remember of Delfina, she was mature beyond her years. She was young, but she had an elegant maturity about her. But she also had a silly side or a funny side that you would not expect. That's what I remember of Delfina. Also selfless, humble, kind, and was an honor to know them.
Some friends invited the Lillelids to stop for dinner on their way home that evening, but the couple's weekend cash had run low, and they knew they had more big purchases coming up that week. Vidar turned down the dinner invitation, and the family climbed into their van, a cream-colored 1987 Dodge, and headed south on Interstate 81. Just before 7:20 p.m., the van pulled into a rest area at mile marker 41, which was about halfway to their home, and this was in a town called Baileyton. At the rest area, Vidar saw a group of young people sitting at a picnic table. Vidar's intentions were simple. He felt that he needed to share his faith with these young people. In episode 1, you heard Karen Sinclair talk about what she witnessed at the rest area. Here's the scene from the perspective of her 19-year-old daughter, Kara.
I was with my family coming home from Johnson City, and we stopped at the first rest area that we came to on I-81. We stopped. Mom left the car running, but my sister and brother were in the car. I walked in the restroom, and on the way, I noticed 2 men dressed like janitors standing there staring. I thought it was us, but now I do not believe that it was actually me and my mom, that they were staring at someone else. They had worried looks on their faces. I know that there were no cars to the left of us when we got out of the car. I noticed other people standing around outside, but did not really look at them. Mom entered the restroom and I was behind her. When I entered, I saw an older woman and 2 girls. Delfina was a person that took her time and we chatted. Then I left. Delfina and Tabitha were the only ones in the bathroom that I could see. I came out the door and Kara was standing there. I saw Vidar and Peter walking around outside. His back was to me, so I didn't stop to speak. From their appearance, he seemed to be fine, and Peter was playful. They were probably 6 to 8 feet away from us. I noticed a group of people, teenagers, males, and females, 6 to 7 people, standing by a building, a billboard thing in front of our car. I noticed the teenagers to be weird, predominantly dressed in black, except for the girl with the short, strange haircut. It was a butch type, short cut. The hair looked to have dark black roots, then a goldish color, then right on top blonde. She had a pinstriped shirt and was heavy-set. She was standing in the circle of people. The others were mainly in black, with black dyed hair. We passed by them because they were 3 or 4 feet from the car. They stared at us when we went by.
After baby Peter recovered enough to be discharged from the hospital at the end of April, he went to live with his paternal aunt, Randy Eyre, in Sweden. This was not as cut and dry as it sounds. There was a custody battle between Randy and Delfina's mother, Lydia, who resided in Miami, Florida. During a custody battle held on July 1st, 1997, Judge Fred McDonald awarded custody to Vidar's sister due to her pledge to raise Peter in the same faith as his father. This was not an easy decision, and to award the father's family over the mother's family is somewhat rare. Peter was raised in Stockholm by his aunt and uncle. Because of the brutal attack, Peter was left blind in one eye, and he faces challenges every day to simply walk. However, by 2017, he had finished a degree in IT, and in 2019 moved back to the United States to pursue his career. He had this to say to an ABC News affiliate in 2022 about learning of his family's murder.
Without a doubt, their way of going about it has been absolutely exemplary, I would say. Because I've always known about it and always had age-appropriate information about it in a way. I have never been traumatized by the knowledge of it, as strange as it may sound, yes. But I've always been aware that, yeah, they were my adoptive parents, but they were so because they wanted me. They were so because they wanted it. Very much so, very much so. And I always known the story. There was never any one moment where they broke it to me. And of course, they have been able to answer all my questions that I could reasonably have, of course. And not only them, there are people around me, family, friends, that have been able to answer even more questions that I might have had. I have been told, as actually fairly soon after I came to Sweden, is there was something that happened when we were in a car, actually. We were cruising the countryside. Something happened. My adopted dad, that is, had to steer away from something, making a adjustment or something on the road. Nothing dramatic, but apparently it made me absolutely inconsolable. And they suspected that it was somehow related to what happened on that day in April. Of course, that's impossible for anyone to know, since I don't have any memory of that incident either. So it's a good chance at some point, well, yeah, I did remember. But for my whole life, I have no recollection of anything to do to my first 2 years in the United States, in Tennessee.
He got married in 2020, and he and his wife, Caitlin, live in Connecticut. He often visits East Tennessee and had this message for Knoxville and everyone that supported him from afar.
There's a lot of people that I never met, a lot of people that I have met, but even more that I never met, that in different ways did a lot for me. In ways that I cannot imagine. Things that I never heard of. And that ranges from of course, the doctors at the hospital who, I had medical papers actually. They write my name as John Doe, as of course they didn't know who I were at the start. So if there's a message to everyone in Knoxville, but around the country, of course, that did things and had interest, is thank you. Thank you for everything you did. It played out very well in the end, as good as it could have been, for sure.
Today, Peter still suffers from the attack. We mentioned that he was blind in one eye, but he also faces neurological challenges. He mostly uses a wheelchair to get around and uses walking sticks at times. While he has no memory of the events, he has had plenty of opportunities to talk about it with those involved, including the first responders who helped him that day. Peter stated that he doesn't spend much time thinking about the 6 people who changed his life forever. Looking back, he takes an optimistic approach to how this crime impacted his life.
This incident that happened in April 97, to some extent, everything that could have gone wrong went wrong right. At the end of the day, it was a horrific in every way, shape, and form. But how should I say it? What was left to the opportunities that was left for what could go right went right, if I say that. There was not a lot of outcomes left after that, right? Lives were taken, lives were affected, not only, most and foremost me, of course, but other people too. Other people who lost friends, family. And so, of course, a lot of attention, time, energy, and foremost love was focused on me. which of course, it's a huge understatement to say I appreciate that.
The Lillelid family is the focus of this story, and any future litigation or judicial decisions being made should keep that in mind. But in order to fully understand what transpired after the arrests, you need a crash course in the satanic panic. And that's next time on Paradigm.